Last time on Then and Now. The reviewers praised this game, and it was probably one of the reasons that Sonic stayed in 3D a lot after this. This game is probably the most nostalgic game in the Sonic series for most fans, and at this point, many fans think that this was Sonic's absolute best so far. The reviews of Sonic Heroes were mixed to positive. There are some that liked the game, but then there were some that couldn't avoid the plot holes and the small flaws that this game had, like the control. And now I present you with the fourth and last part of Sonic the Hedgehog's Then and Now. First game on today's lineup is Sonic Advance 3. Now, unlike Sonic Advance 1 and 2, Sonic Advance 3 actually has a story, although it's kinda generic Sonic story, so it'll be easy to explain. Dr. Eggman decided to build a robotic assistant using the parts of Emerl and G-Merl. You remember Emerl from Sonic Battle. G-Merl is just a loyal, obedient copy of Emerl. This assistant can learn new attacks and meld itself with any mechanical object. Eggman then tears the Earth apart when an experiment that uses chaos control goes awry. Sonic is then separated from Knuckles, Amy, and Cream and is stuck with Tails. So now Sonic and Tails then go to find their friends and save the world from Eggman. In this game you can play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose, Cream the Rabbit, and Dr. Eggman, except he's only playable in the non-aggression stage in multiplayer mode. So the gameplay consists of platforming elements from Sonic Advance 1 and the high-speed gameplay from Sonic Advance 2 to create a similar experience to the first two games. The reception of Sonic Advance 3 was okay, but it wasn't loved incredibly. Although Sonic Advance 3 has sold over 1.5 million copies since its release, so it sold well. The next game on the list is Sonic Rush for the Nintendo DS. Now before I explain the plot, I should introduce Blaze the cat. Blaze is a purple cat princess from an alternate dimension. She has been appointed guardian of the Soul Emeralds, which are her dimension's version of Chaos Emeralds. Her personality is calm and level-headed, and she usually hides her feelings. Using the Soul Emeralds, she can transform into Burning Blaze, similar to how Sonic transforms into Super Sonic when using the Chaos Emeralds. She also fights a villain named Eggman Nega, who resembles Dr. Eggman. Now let's get to the plot. Blaze the cat lands in Sonic's world. We're not at that game yet! Anyways, Dr. Eggman steals the Soul Emeralds and Blaze tries to retrieve them, then meets up with Sonic, who is looking for the Chaos Emeralds. Blaze then meets the members of the team and then learns that her world and Sonic's world are merging. Now Blaze and Sonic go to stop Eggman and Eggman Nega so that their worlds can be restored. The gameplay is similar to the Advance games and uses both of the screens on the DS for going through stages. The reception of Sonic Rush was very good. Critics and fans praised this game, especially for it being a DS Sonic game. Now we hit a big one. Now we have Shadow the Hedgehog, which is one of the most infamous games in the Sonic series. And before anyone calls Shadow the Hedgehog a spin-off, this game is supposed to follow up the events after Sonic Heroes. So this game is supposed to be a main game in the Sonic series. Anyways, before I show you guys the plot, I need to introduce you to Shadow's character. Shadow the Hedgehog was created 50 years before the game's events by Professor Gerald Robotnik in the space colony Ark. Robotnik was trying to create the ultimate life form, and thus, Shadow was born. Now that's all you really need to know about him. Now for the plot. These events happen 3 months after Sonic Heroes. Shadow, just like in that game, suffers from amnesia and only remembers 2 things about his past: his name and the gruesome image of Gerald Robotnik's daughter Maria getting shot by a gun soldier. The game begins with Shadow standing outside the city of Westopolis when suddenly aliens named the Black Arms invade it. The leader of the Black Arms named Black Doom appears to Shadow and tells him to bring him all the Chaos Emeralds as promised. Shadow is stunned that Black Doom knew his name and then decides to go gather the Chaos Emeralds and hope that Black Doom will tell him his past. This game allows you to go down 3 paths in your storyline: Hero, Dark, or Neutral. There are multiple endings and there is one final ending after you finish every pathway. This game also introduced cursing and guns into it, showing that Sonic Team was trying to make the Sonic series more darker and edgy. The reception of Shadow the Hedgehog was overall bad. Most critics didn't like the road that this game was taking, and many fans disliked the game because of its darker nature, repetitive gameplay, and plot hole-filled storyline. Overall, this game is known to the fans as one of the worst Sonic games in recent history. Next game on the list is Sonic Riders, which is another Sonic racing game. The story is split up into the Hero story and the Babylon story, so I'll explain both. In the Hero story, Team Sonic is tracking down a Chaos Emerald one night, and then they realize that the emerald was stolen by the Babylon Rogues. Sonic goes after Jet, the leader of the Babylon team, but he escapes. Team Sonic then notice a World Grand Prix held by Dr. Eggman. Sonic's team enter the race as soon as they find out that the other team has entered the Prix. Team Sonic then tries to win the race and get the Chaos Emerald back. In Babylon's story, Jet is doing nothing on his ship one day and then gets a visitor, who is Dr. Eggman. Eggman tells Jet that he needs to get the Chaos Emeralds. After stealing the emerald, the team enters the Grand Prix to get the other emeralds. Team Babylon then tries to win the race and get the Chaos Emeralds to make the Babylon Garden rise. The gameplay was just a normal racing game, but it used hoverboards instead of cars. Sonic Riders received mixed reviews. Some thought it was alright for a Sonic racing game, and some thought it didn't make the cut. Next game is Sonic Genesis. This game was made as a 15th anniversary celebration of Sonic the Hedgehog, so they decided to remake Sonic 1 and put it on the Game Boy Advance. But something went horribly wrong. They made probably the worst port of any game ever. The music was incredibly ear-raping to some people, and the camera was too focused on Sonic so people couldn't see where they were going. The physics were off, and the tremendous amount of slowdown during gameplay. Reception of this port was very bad. Many people don't like this game and think of it as one of the worst things Sonic Team has done. Next up is Sonic Rivals for the PSP. The game begins with Dr. Eggman turning Tails, Amy Rose, Rouge, and the Master Emerald into cards with his new device. Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, and Silver the Hedgehog, will tell you who he is later, go after Eggman in an attempt to save their friends or fulfill their duties. The reception of Sonic Rivals wasn't very good. People didn't like it that much and thought it got repetitive really fast. Next up, we have the most infamous and hated game in the Sonic series. This game is one where Sega tried to completely change the setting of Sonic. This game is Sonic 06. Sonic 06 was another game that was released in 2006 for Sonic's 15th anniversary. Funny how it came out on the exact same day as Sonic Genesis. Now let's start with the plot. At the start of the game, you're greeted with a cutscene that is showing the Festival of Soliana, which is rudely interrupted by Dr. Eggman. Dr. Eggman then captures Princess Elise, seeking the flames of disaster from her. Sonic saves her, but then she's captured again and throws her Chaos Emerald at Sonic. Sonic then saves Princess Elise multiple times, while Shadow and a newcomer Silver the Hedgehog try to stop two villains known as Mephiles the Dark and Iblis from merging together and causing destruction. There are three stories that you play as. You have Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, and then the final story which completes the story fully. Although there are three character stories, you play as other characters in this game. Sonic the Hedgehog, or Sonic 06 as it's commonly known as, is very infamous for its gameplay glitches, slow gameplay, and stupid plot hole-filled story. Most of the fanbase didn't like this game because of the romance that they tried to stick in between Sonic and Princess Elise. Another hated part of this game is how long and annoying the loading screens are. The main reason why this game failed is because it was unfinished. Sonic Team wanted to release Sonic 06 on the 15th anniversary date, so they decided to put an unfinished game up for sale just to have it on the anniversary date. Reception of Sonic 06 was very bad. The game is known as the worst Sonic game ever made by both critics and actual fanbase. Because of this game and Sonic Genesis, 2006 is known as the dark year of Sonic the Hedgehog. Next game on our list is Sonic Rush Adventure for the Nintendo DS. This game's story is sorta long, so I'll describe it as fast as I can. The story begins with Sonic and Tails flying in a tornado, searching for a strange energy signal that appeared on Tails' radar. Suddenly, a tornado appears. Sonic tries to warn Tails, but he doesn't hear him and continues to fly. Then the plane is hit by a lightning bolt and falls into the tornado. Sonic and Tails are later woken up by a raccoon named Marine. Sonic and Tails decide to help Marine rebuild her ship. Along the way, Blaze appears and reveals that Sonic and Tails have traveled to a different dimension during the storm. A little while later, Marine is kidnapped, and it is revealed that Eggman and Eggman Nega are behind everything. Sonic, Blaze, and Tails and Marine try to stop two Eggmans and return to their own dimensions. The gameplay is just like its predecessor Sonic Rush. Reception of Sonic Rush Adventure was good. Like its predecessor, it was received well by critics, although when the fans speak of handheld Sonic games, they speak of Sonic Rush and Sonic Colors before speaking about this game. Next up is Sonic and the Secret Rings for the Nintendo Wii. Sonic and the Secret Rings was the first Sonic game on the Wii console. The story is a bit out of place here for a Sonic game, and the characters from the Sonic series are given different identities. For example, Eggman appeared as King Shahryar, hopefully I'm saying that right. Anyway, let's get on with the story. After reading the Arabian Nights, Sonic falls asleep and is awoken by Shara, also known as Genie of the Ring. She explains that Eraser Jin wants to erase the Arabian Nights book in its entirety. The actual backstory behind Eraser Jin is that he used to be the genie of the lamp from Aladdin in the Magic Lamp. Shara tells Sonic that Eraser is erasing pages from the Arabian Nights, and Sonic decides to help her stop him. Sonic and Shara enter the book and encounter Eraser. He then tells them that his plan is to collect all of the world rings. To stop him from erasing more of the Arabian Nights, Sonic and Shara embark on a quest to gather the world rings. Sonic and the Secret Rings is a 3D Sonic game that features an on-rails style of movement. You can control Sonic with the Wiimote and adjust his forward movement by tilting the controller left and right, like how you would tilt a mobile phone to turn in a game such like Sonic Dash. Sonic and the Secret Rings received mixed to positive reviews from critics. It sold over 2 million copies, which is good for it only being on the Wii. Although the critics didn't like the game, it wasn't too bad, but the fan base of Sonic really didn't like it. Next up, we have Sonic Rivals 2 for the PSP. Now, there's not much to say about this game. Basically, it was just like the first one in terms of gameplay. There really isn't a story, just the average thing of Sonic and the gang going after their own goals. The gameplay is the same as Sonic Rivals 1 with a few improvements and added characters. Sonic Rivals 2 was received alright, but not anything really good or special to critics or fanbase. And now we reach Sonic Unleashed. Now, there are 2 different versions of this game, but I'm only going to mainly talk about the Xbox 360 and PS3's version. The Wii and PS2 version are the same, and they're not different from the PS3 or Xbox version in terms of story, but in gameplay it is known to be much worse or better than the other versions. It really depends on the person's preference. Now let's get on with the story. This game's story begins with Sonic and Eggman doing their usual gig. Sonic fights against Eggman in space, then he gets captured, becomes Super Sonic, and trumps everything that Eggman throws at him. But while Sonic is being himself and gloating after he's bested Eggman, Eggman then traps him, then drains all the power from the Chaos Emeralds, and then uses the Chaos Emeralds' power to fire an enormous laser at the Earth to unleash a powerful beast known as Dark Gaia. While he drained the power from the emeralds, he also turned Sonic into a Werehog, which is a dark form that Sonic can transform into at night. Eggman then shoots Sonic down to Earth, where he lands on a friendly creature that he starts to call Chip. Chip is suffering from amnesia, and Sonic decides to try and help him find out who he is. Then later he finds out he can fix the emeralds by taking them to certain shrines all over the world, so he attempts to fix the emeralds and stop Dark Gaia. Sonic Unleashed was the first console game to introduce the boost that was in Sonic Rush, which allows you to go at incredible speeds. The gameplay of Sonic levels were loved, but the new Werehog levels were the main cause of the hate for this game. The Werehog levels were long and uninteresting to many. The reception of Sonic Unleashed was mixed for critics. They really did not like the Werehog levels, but they did not enjoy all the Sonic levels that much either sometimes. Although the critics enjoyed the Wii and PS2 version more than the 360 and PS3 version, the fans usually enjoy the 360 and PS3 Unleashed more than the Wii and PS2 version. So in all, not a lot of people like this game. It had right in the Sonic levels, but it did not do that much right in the Werehog levels. Not too bad, but not too good either. Next up, we have Sonic Riders Zero Gravity for the PlayStation 2 and Wii. Just like the first Sonic Riders game, there is both a hero story and a Babylon story, but in Zero Gravity, the stories overlap. In this story, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are alerted that robots are attacking a famous city in the future. So Sonic's team set out to find an artifact that has the ability to control gravity, and along the way, they realize that the Babylon Rogues are also after this artifact. So now both teams go head to head to retrieve the artifact first. There were a ton of changes in this game besides the increased amount of characters, small upgrades of gameplay, and some survival modes. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity received mixed reviews from critics. They liked the improved graphics, better level design, and easier gameplay concepts, but they didn't like the loose control and removed graphic elements from the first one. So they thought it wasn't too bad, but not too good either. Next up, we have Sonic Chronicles, The Dark Brotherhood for the Nintendo DS. The story starts off with showing Eggman's defeat and presumed death by the destruction of the egg carrier some time ago. Sonic is taking a vacation when he receives a call from Tails, telling him that Knuckles has been kidnapped by a group called the Marauders, who have stolen the Chaos Emeralds as well. So Sonic and his friends go to rescue Knuckles and retrieve the Chaos Emeralds again. Knuckles ends up escaping the robots and leaving the base, but after they notice that Angel Island is gone. They also have found that Eggman is alive, even after the destruction of the egg carrier. He informs them of where Angel Island is, and they go to stop this unknown enemy. The game is made and developed by BioWare, who is famous for the Mass Effect series and the Dragon Age series. One of this game's main flaws to the fans was music. It seemed unfitting and just plain bad to some people, although the critics didn't seem to have a huge problem with it. Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood was received well from critics. They all thought it was a good transition into the RPG genre for Sonic, and they also praised the graphics. Although the critics didn't like some of the gameplay elements, they found it to be overbearing or annoying, but some of them found it to be a joy. So overall reception, as well as critics and fans, this game wasn't that great. Next up, we have Sonic and the Black Knight for the Nintendo Wii. This is the second exclusive Sonic Wii game, and apparently it's its first entry into the Sonic Storybook series. Alright, now let's begin with the plot. In the beginning of the game, you are greeted with a cutscene of the sorceress named Merlina, who is being chased by a dark crowd in a mysterious night. She summons somebody to help free her realm, who happens to be Sonic. The realm is endangered by King Arthur, who has been possessed by an unknown evil that comes from his scabbard of Excalibur. Yes, the scabbard, not the sword, the scabbard, I don't even know. Anyways, Sonic can't defeat King Arthur with just speed, so he retrieves a talking sword named Caliburn. Along the way, Sonic must collect the blades of the King Arthur's Knights at the Round Table and Excalibur itself to cure the King Arthur of his insanity. Just like the Secret Rings, other characters are given new identities but keep their appearance. Like for instance, Tails is now a blacksmith and Amy is the Lady of the Lake. Sonic and the Black Knight received mixed reviews from critics. Many of the critics liked the visuals, presentation, and soundtrack, but hated the swordplay and thought it was broken, unresponsive, and repetitive. Fans don't think too well of this game. They had the same problems as the critics. This game was also voted the worst Wii game of 2009 by the Screw Attack community. Next up is Sonic Freeriders for the Xbox 360 with Kinect. The story is so simple that I can explain it in a few words. Eggman dresses as a king, throws another grand pricks, and the teams enter. That's it. You thought there was going to be more storyline to this? No. Anyways, this game was the launch title for the Kinect. The Kinect, for those who didn't know, is a motion control for the Xbox 360 that needs no controller. But because it's unresponsive at times. This game's reception from critics was mixed. Some thought it was a strong launch title for the Kinect, and others thought it was incredibly unresponsive and tough to play correctly. Fans despise this game, since the fans don't really like Kinect, and they didn't like the unresponsiveness of the Kinect as well. Next up is Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 and 2 for the Xbox 360, PS3, WiiWare, iOS, PC, and other shit. Sonic 4 Episode 1 is set after the events of Sonic and Knuckles, where the Death Egg is destroyed and Sonic heads off to explore new territories alone. Dr. Eggman survived and is now attempting to remake his creations from previous Sonic games. Sonic 4 Episode 1 was received well by critics. They praised the graphics and it feels like another 2D Sonic game. The fans didn't love this game too much. They found it boring and it lost its replayability. Overall, Episode 1 was received pretty well. Now for Sonic 4 Episode 2's plot. Metal Sonic survived its defeat in Sonic CD, but was damaged and left on Little Planet at the end of Episode 1. Eggman then finds and repairs Metal Sonic and sends him after Sonic. Sonic and Tails hear that Eggman is back, so they attempt to go stop him again, while Metal Sonic searches for them. Sonic 4 Episode 2 was received mixed by critics, mainly because it was missing the charm of the old Genesis games, even though it has the physics better than Episode 1. The fans felt the same about this. The game was good, but they didn't have the Genesis charm. Next up, we have Sonic Colors for the Nintendo Wii. Now before I get into the story, I'll introduce the main gimmick of this game. The gimmick of this game are the Wisps. Wisps are little alien creatures that Sonic can use to get through levels quickly, to fly, or destroy everything in front of him. This gimmick was mostly optional, so you didn't have to use them all the time. Alright, now let's begin with the plot. So Eggman decides to build a huge amusement park in space, which he calls the Dr. Eggman's Incredible Interstellar Amusement Park, which he made out of several planets and a main lobby. Sonic and Tails go to investigate and think that Eggman is up to no good. Soon they meet Yacker, who is a wisp that informs them that Eggman is capturing his fellow wisps and using their power for evil actions. So Sonic and Tails try to stop Eggman and free the wisps. This game introduced gameplay similar to Sonic Unleashed, but it was more filled with 2D platforming sections. Fun fact, Sega made this game like this to also cater to Mario fans, so that they can enjoy the Sonic game as well. The reception of Sonic Colors was very good. Both critics and fans think well of it and praise it for how well it looks for the Wii, and how the gameplay is for both 2D and 3D. Overall, both fans and critics like this game. Last game on our list for Sonic Then and Now is Sonic Generations. Sonic Generations was a game where Sega tried to bring modern Sonic and classic Sonic into one game. Now let's get on with the plot. This game's events take place after Sonic Colors. All of Sonic's friends are throwing him a birthday party. They surprise Sonic and everyone starts enjoying the party. During the party, a random monster appears and sucks away all of Sonic's friends and knocks Sonic unconscious. When Sonic wakes up, he's in a huge white void, and the only places he can enter are stages from the past Sonic games. Later you are introduced to Classic Sonic, which is Sonic from back in the Genesis days. Sonic must now go through these stages and save each of his friends one at a time, then defeat this monster that is this new threat. This game is very loved by critics. They all thought this one was one of the best Sonic games in many years and thought that Sega was finally back on track to making good Sonic games. Both fans and critics loved this game very much. So that is it, you guys. That is the end of Sonic's Then and Now. He may have had a lot of speed bumps, but it seems like after Sonic Generations, Sonic is finally back to having good games. Let's all hope that the next Sonic games are all great. Sonic was an icon for many people, and he is my first video game character. Good job, Sonic. See you next game. Alright guys, that was the end of Sonic's Then and Now. Now what I want you to do is comment below telling me what you thought of Sonic's Then and Now. Then give me suggestions on who's Then and Now to do next. I really read your comments, guys, so tell me what you want me to do. Thanks for watching these, guys. I love how much support these videos have gotten, and I'll see you guys next video. Thanks for watching my video. If you want to see more, then please click one of the 2 boxes below and it'll take you right to one of my videos. If you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all again soon.